Hello love, this one is just for you. So I've opened Photoshop. I have Lazy Nizumi. The first thing you want to do is go to File, Hook Window, just hover it over here. Okay, that means it's working. We'll go to File, New, and here is where we make a new document. It doesn't matter what you call it. I'll call it Artwork. And now we have one. And if you want to close it, actually you can have two or more up here, and you can also drag photos into Photoshop depending on the source. Let's try this one. There we are. So we have different tabs. You can also drag them directly into the project you're currently working on, but it may not appear the same. You can test by copying it from another one and pasting it in here, so that one is the same. For some reason, sometimes they do change resolutions. So you don't have to worry about these too much. The background contents for you will probably be white. The width and the height is pretty self-explanatory. The resolution, this is what you have to pay attention to. On web pages, the resolution is 72 pixels per inch. For games, you could usually go 72, but if you're going to print something, generally you want 300 for physical prints. This really only matters with physical prints. And with physical prints, you would want this one right here. But for now, we're just going to do that. Here we are. So the first thing I do with this obnoxious background is I change it to something a little bit soft and subtle. In this case, I'm going to go just a little bit too obnoxious. And to make those the same, I'm going to copy it. Do note that the very first thing I know you're going to be looking for is a fill tool, like a paint bucket. Believe it or not, on this $100 and something program, which is an annual subscription, there is no fill tool. It's ridiculous. So what I do is I pick a color, I paste it to both of them, then I take the gradient tool and just fill that right in. Okay, so what I've done, I've made a background that we can paint over. It's actually alright, it's not too obnoxious, but say if we didn't really want it to be this bright, instead of just re-picking colors, what I would do... how do I pause this? You decided to message me. Bitch, I'm making your video. Shut up. Love you. You'll see this later. Think it's funny. Or maybe he won't think it's funny. Control A, make sure everything is selected. Okay, image adjustments. Whew. This isn't something you should jump... Really, Gray? Really? I'm gonna have to close Skype. Be right back. Okay, so this isn't something that you'll jump into much as a beginner, but say you're working on something, you're sketching, and you realize, hey, my character needs wings or whatnot, so adjustments, not so beginner friendly, but canvas size. Alright, this is an anchor. Like, say if you want to expand the canvas, you can click where the image will stay. So pick upper left, and if I expand this to 900, this part that's already colored in will stay in the upper left. If I pick the middle, it's going to expand from the center. This is more apparent if you have another layer with something on it. So let's say I draw a white line. Beautiful. Alright, we want canvas size. Take it back to 900. And I'll anchor it in the upper left. Alright, now you can see what it's doing. Also self-explanatory. Alright, so back to this isn't beginner friendly. Image adjustments. This can be super useful or not depending on how you do your artwork. For me, I find myself using these a lot, maybe not all of them, but for example, I'm going to hit vibrance. And if you're working with photos, this will be your best friend. So I can make this even more obnoxious or less obnoxious. So I want something about here, and there we are. Something nice to do my background work on. It does actually look better this way, but it's so bright and contrasting, and generally I just use solid gray. But when someone else is looking at you work, it just feels better to have a little bit color. But you've seen me work. I put in something that's easy on the eyes and I just work over it. And then back here, the other thing you might want to look into would be color balance. The reason it's giving me is an error is because I've selected this layer of nothing on it. Let's say we take a blue line and maybe some yellow. So with color balance, if you're trying to match something you've just drawn, like you made a bowl and you want to put the bowl underwater but it's not matching the scene, there's a couple things you can do. But you can shift the tones on things back and forth. And it will affect all the colors differently. With yellows and bright lights, it won't actually change anything. And of course, brightness contrast. Brightness contrast in other lessons, I'm going to go over the rest of these and how they could possibly be useful, but let's say that you take a picture of a rock, you put the rock on Photoshop, you take all the color out of it, and you plan to use it as an overlay to get your texture onto your art. You would want to take the brightness and contrast it all the way up, down. Alright, so let's get into the actual art, what you need to know now, today, to do your own stuff. And I have a reference, and I'm going to send this to you. It shows how you can use basic colors and create things just with a small color palette. So I would suggest as homework after this lesson, open this image and do each one of these things one by one. Try to copy this all the way through using the color palette. And right now, at first glance, since you haven't really touched anything or done anything, this looks just insane. There's no way you can do that. I'm going to prove you wrong. These things are super simple, super easy, and I'm going to do all of them.